Good morning everyone, I hope we are well. In this lesson we're going to be learning how to determine if a number is in a particular sequence. Let me explain. We're going to begin by answering these four questions. The first question being, find the first term in the sequence 2n plus 1. So it's my 2 times tables with 1 added onto each term. So what I could do, I could use my substitution method. So I can do 2 lots of 1 add 1, because instead of n, I've replaced it with the term number which I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find the first term, so I'm replacing n for 1. So 2 times 1 is 2, add 1 gives me 3. So 3 is the first term in this sequence. The next question is asking me to find the 10th term in this sequence. So can you predict what I'm about to do? So remember, if I'm trying to find a particular term, let's say the 10th term, I'm going to substitute this n for a 10. So I'm doing 2 lots of 10, add 1. Well, 2 lots of 10 is 20, add 1 gives me 21. Right, so these two questions, we've covered questions like that in the last few lessons, but we haven't seen questions like this yet. So let's say, does 101 appear in the sequence 2n plus 1? So if I were to write this sequence out forever, would 101 be one of the numbers in that sequence? So let's think about what we're doing. We're wondering, well, 2 lots of something plus 1 equals 101. Does this number exist? Well, let's see if we can work it out. So 2n plus 1 equals 101. I've just set up an equation for myself. So I've taken my nth term, I've taken my rule, and I've set it equal to 101. Do you recognise that this is just an equation that we can solve? So think back to what we've done a few weeks ago with solving equations. I'm going to solve this equation, so let's see what happens. I just want n on its own, but at the moment I've got 2n plus 1. That plus 1 doesn't need to be there, so I'm going to do the opposite to adding 1, which is subtracting 1. Subtracting 1 to both sides of my equation gives me 2n equals 100. If I'm trying to solve this equation, I just want n on its own. So to get from 2n to n, I'm going to divide both sides of my equation by 2, which tells me that n equals 50. But what does that actually mean? Well, n equals 50 tells me that 2 lots of 50 plus 1 equals 101. So because I've solved this equation and I've got a nice whole number, that means 101 is in my sequence, and I've checked it. 2 lots of 50 add 1 gives me 101, so I can say yes, 101 is in my sequence, and in fact it's the 50th term in that sequence, because when n is 50, my rule gives me 101. Let's try the last one together as well. Does 200 appear in this sequence then? So I'm going to do what I've done before. So I'm wondering, well, 2 lots of something add 1 gives me 200. Can I find what that something is? Well, let's set up an equation. I'm going to take my rule 2n plus 1, and I'm going to set it equal to 200, because I'm wondering if 200 is in this sequence. If I want to find out if this is in the sequence, I need to try and solve this equation. Solve means find n, so just like before, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, so that tells me that 2n equals 199. How do I get from 2n to just n on its own? Well, I'm going to divide by 2. That tells me that n is 99.5. What I'm about to say is very important now. If you solve the equation and you do not get a whole number, so if you get a decimal, that means that that term is not in the sequence. So my answer is no, and I'm going to show you why. This tells me, well, if I take my rule and I work out the 99th term, so 2 lots of 99 plus 1, the 99th term in that sequence is 199. What would the 100th term be? Well, it would be 2 lots of 100 plus 1 gives me 201. So do you see that 200 gets skipped in the sequence? My sequence goes from 199 to 201. So 200 would be in between 2 of the terms in that sequence. So 200 is not in that sequence. Okay, so we're going to do 2 more together. It's up to you how you do this. If you're feeling confident, please pause the video now and try these 2 questions. If not, just leave the video running. The first question is, does the number 48 appear in the sequence 3n plus 12? So I want to know 3 lots of something plus 12 gives me 48. Is this something a whole number, Well, let's find out. So I'm doing 3n plus 12, taking my rule and setting it equal to 48. Let's solve this equation. Solve means find n on its own, so I need to first subtract 12 from both sides. That tells you that 3n equals 36. To get from 3n to n on its own, I am going to divide by 3. That tells me that n is 12. Could you answer this question now? Does 48 appear in that sequence? Well, because I have a whole number answer, that means yes, and it's the 12th term in our sequence, because 3 lots of 12 plus 12 gives me 48. Next question, does 70 appear in that sequence? Well, I want to know 3 lots of something plus 12 equals 70. Is this something a whole number? Well, let's find out. I'm taking my rule 3n plus 12 and I'm setting it equal to the term number I'm interested in. Okay, so subtracting 12 from both sides tells us that 3n equals 58. 58 divided by 3 gives me 19.333333. Is this a whole number? Well, no, it's not. That means that 70 is not in that sequence. It's only in that sequence when you get a whole number when you solve that equation. Okay, so we have a few questions on our screen now. Please can you pause the video and then unpause the video when you're ready for your solutions. And here are your solutions. So guys, please could you now find your classwork attached for you on Google Classroom. Your answers are there if that helps, and also if you need any help, please just let me know. Thank you very much guys, and good luck with the task.